On behalf of GiveBradford, good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this very special grants briefing about our new flagship funding program in partnership with Bradford 2025 City of Culture. Before we do get started, I just wanted to make you aware that the session is being recorded and we'll be sharing the slides and the recording afterwards with all of you, but also for people that can't make it today as well. If you have a mobile phone nearby, could you please put that on silent? And like I said before, if you can keep your mic muted for now, you'll get an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have at the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And also you can use the chat facility while we're doing the presentation. There's a chat facility that you can ask any questions and we'll do our best to answer them as we're going through as well. So just to start off with some introductions, I'm Shahid Molvi, I'm Head of Grants. I have oversight and overall responsibility for the grant making at the Foundation. And also on the call with me today, I've got some colleagues from GiveBradford. Fozia is there with us. Fozia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, it took me a while to unmute there.
That's all right.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Partnerships Manager for GiveBradford.
Excellent. And Jess is on the call.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess. I'm Communications Officer at GiveBradford.
Okay, brilliant. So there's been a few changes here at the Foundation at the back end of last year, particularly amongst the kind of senior leadership team. So I'm really thrilled and delighted to introduce our new incoming CEO. That's Steph Taylor, who just started her role at the beginning of this year. Steph wanted to call in just for 5 minutes to say hi to everybody and to tell you a little bit about our work, past, present, and future. So over to Steph.
Thanks, Shahid. It's so nice to see so many faces that I recognise. Most of you know that I've been Director of GiveBradford and setting up our work in the district over the last 4 years, as well as working across the Foundation on partnerships, development and grant making. So it's really nice to speak to you in this new role, as Shahid mentioned. Really nice to see you, Shahid. He's actually at the other end of the office. So, but you know what it's like with all this remote working and being out and about. And welcome to those of you who are new to these briefings as well. There's quite a few names and organisations that I didn't recognise when I was looking through the list. So welcome. And if you haven't connected us, if you haven't connected with us before, then please don't see this as the only opportunity to do that. Foz in particular is out there and about and willing to speak to people about your plans, what you're doing in communities and how we can support you, whether it's through this fund or through the wider work that we do. We essentially at GiveBradford, for those of you that don't know, we generate funds and support to strengthen grassroots community organisations across the district. We do that in partnership with Leeds Community Foundation, but we have our own board of trustees for Bradford who are local Bradfordians, making sure that what we're doing is right for communities across the district and really taking advantage of opportunities that are unique to Bradford. And of course, 2025 is one of those. And I'll talk to you in a minute about the partnership and why we wanted to be part of it and the kind of history of this fund, really. But what we do is leverage as much money as possible for what you do in communities. That might be through statutory and national partners. It might be through philanthropic giving. We're really out there to shout about how much money is needed in communities and make sure that individuals and companies who are able to give do that in a way that has impact and do that in a way that gets their money to the grassroots, because we know what you are doing in communities with your lived experience of issues on the ground is really what makes the difference and what makes our district thrive. And we're all really passionate about that across the team. So we're making sure that we can get as much money into communities as possible. I talked to you there a little bit about what we did last year, but we've got ambitions to grow that. And although there are very challenging times for all of us around cost of living and coming out of the pandemic, we think there are huge opportunities for communities as well. And we take it very seriously that we need to be there championing what you do and raising investment for it. So in terms of this fund, the rationale really for us running this programme and for getting involved is to make sure that community organisations are able to play a role in the City of Culture programme, able to benefit from it, both during 2025 but beyond as well. So this grant programme, we have match funded it with the City of Culture team. There's potential to leverage other money into the programme moving forward as well. So we see it as a vehicle really through which we can invest in communities and do that in a way that allows communities to take part in the City of Culture programme in a way that's right for them. So lots of you may not be arts and culture organisations, and that's great because arts and culture in itself happens in our communities all the time in all sorts of different ways. And this programme is really about recognising that and making sure that whatever arts and culture means to an individual, that can be represented through the City of Culture programme and activity. And then the legacy piece is really about recognising that City of Culture is going to put Bradford on the map in different ways, but a lot of that investment that may come through for the programme during 2025, if we don't capitalise on that, that will be lost to communities in the longer term as well. So as the independent foundation that's in the district and will be in the district for a long time, we feel really well positioned to be able to build some of those relationships with the 2025 team, so that if we've got companies and you've got individual philanthropists that thinking, yes, this is brilliant, I want to keep going, I want to keep investing in work in Bradford, there's a way for them to do that, and that we play that role and that we support those individuals and those companies to keep seeing the value of the fantastic work that you're doing in the district. So that's probably enough from me, but thank you for joining us and look forward to meeting those of you that I don't know in the future.
Thank you, Steph. I'm going to hand over now to Fozia, who will take you through the programme slides and our grant making process.
Hi everyone. So the Creative Communities Fund, the grant size is from £500 to £15,000, and the grant opens on the 4th of March, and deadline, as it says on there, is on the 23rd of April. So if you are an unincorporated or not registered organisation, then you can apply up to a maximum of £5,000, so long as it doesn't take you over the 10,000 income threshold. So you can go on to the next one. So, sorry, Jess, if you could go to the next slide. The aim of the programme, as Steph has said, is that we want to see all the communities and community organisations in Bradford to be a part of the UK City of Culture. And this is why we've done this partnership work with BD25 to actually open up that opportunity for everyone. And so it's the aim of this programme is to new organisations that are new to cultural activities, and you haven't done it before. And it's also for smaller organisations that are more established in this space but wouldn't be able to access the larger BD25 grants. So the outcomes that we're aiming for through this fund is to reduce barriers to participation in the arts and culture, contribute to giving everyone the opportunity to make and experience art and new ideas, and that all of Bradford feels more confident, fulfilled and proud and connected through this programme. And it gives you examples of the type of outcomes that you'd like to achieve in the slide, where it's like increasing self-esteem, pride as a community, feeling included and participating in arts and culture, increasing well-being, feeling that they've contributed and becoming involved in creative activities. And to us, it's not about taking part in art. It's about taking part in art. I can't even say it now. I've got my tongue twisted. It's about taking part in arts and culture and feeling included. At the end of the grant, there's no need to do an exhibition or a performance, although we do recognise that is something that just organically does actually happen when you're doing the programme. If we can go to the next bit, sorry, Jess. So the application process is the standard application process is we always suggest about checking the criteria. I know we know that, but I know as community organisations where it's capacity and everything, we don't always check, but it is just really focusing on that bit first, so you're not wasting time doing the application if you don't meet the eligibility requirements. And the application is actually online, so you can actually go onto the online link, start completing it, and then you can save it and return to it afterwards. If anybody does want to plan, say on a Word document or something like that, I can look at doing the main body questions into a Word document and emailing that out to you if that helps you in the process, so that you can just maybe look at how you would want to plan it rather than doing it online and saving it. Because I know I'm a bit old-fashioned that way. I do like paper in the sense that just to plan something before I submit it online. But if you want to stick to it online, you can actually save it as you go along and go back to it afterwards. And if at any point you feel you want to discuss the project with us, again, we're here to talk. If you're not 100% sure of how to kind of plan the project, we're willing to speak to you and just have a conversation with us and help you with that process. And then the criteria, sorry, next slide, Jess. Thanks. So standard grant criteria, when you apply for a grant with GiveBradford, is that you have 3 unrelated trustees, directors, or management committee, none with significant control. And then a governing document, so it's a set of rules of how you're going to run the organisation. It differs depending on what your setup is, so it's a constitution or a memorandum of article of association. That you have a bank account, and that also is a safeguarding policy if you're working with vulnerable adults and children. If that needs updating, or if you feel that it's not strong enough, we've got some people that can help work with you on that one if you want to update your policy. And then the eligibility for this actual fund is that you need to be based in Bradford. You can also be based in nearby locations, so it could be Kirklees, Leeds, but the main aim is that you are working with the communities in Bradford and that you can actually demonstrate that you have done in the past as well. And then if it's a larger organisation, the income needs to be under 550,000 in the most financial year for you to be eligible. And that you are a community organisation or a group, again, like I said, with 3 unrelated directors or members on board. And we are really looking to encourage applications from all communities, particularly from those that are underserved and underrepresented ones, where they feel that arts and culture type activities are not for them. So we would really like to see applications coming from those organisations that haven't worked in that sector before. And then decision-making process. So the way we do the decision-making process, we always have an independent panel in all of our funds, as well as this one as well. So it's about being fair and diverse. So on this panel, again, you may have someone like, say, from BD25, there'll be one of our trustees, but we'll also have a couple of organisations on there with lived experience, as long as they've not applied for the fund, that will be on that table to make that decision. And then it's the one with the most votes that gets shortlisted. I'm sure you all already know as well that we're always oversubscribed, but we always look to feedback where there might be extra support you need, signpost you to someone that can help you if it's anything to do with setup of organisation. So we always look at who can support you in making the next application in the future stronger. And then the next slide, please, Steph. Sorry, Steph. Jess.
Okay, I think I'm back in here. So for most of our grants, which tend to last up to a year, we have a standard end of grant monitoring form that we ask all grant holders to complete. You'll be notified if you are successful when the monitoring is due as part of the funding agreement. As it says end of grant, people tend to or are tempted to leave it to the end, but it's something that you should really think about carefully when you're applying. So at the application stage, you should also already be asking yourself, you know, what are the outcomes that you're likely to achieve? How will you measure and demonstrate the impact that your work has had? So you should try and plan that in right from the outset. We also want the exercise to be useful for you as an organization. We want you guys to grow and get better at what you do. So, you know, things can happen while you're delivering, don't always go to plan. We're interested in what worked, but also what didn't work or didn't go to plan. You know, what did you learn from delivering? What would you do differently next time? Those are the kind of things that we'd be interested in while you're completing the monitoring form. It's also useful for us to get the monitoring in. People always say, you know, why do we have to do monitoring? But it's useful for us to demonstrate the great impact of the work that you've delivered to the funders and donors, which in turn will encourage them to fund us again or to give a little bit more next time, and thereby making more funds available for us to then give out again as grants back to you. You can use different tools and approaches to capture the impact and learning of your work. You can do case studies, maybe run a survey before and after with the participants, capture quantitative and qualitative data, record short videos, get quotes, you know, whatever you want really, as long as you can get the necessary permissions as well from the participants to be able to share that with us. And the last slide is just some top tips that we've kind of gathered and we thought it might be useful for us to run through with you. Things you should consider when you're applying for funding and completing your application form. I think the key thing and the key message is it's not just about you know, GiveBradford. It probably applies to all funding that you might apply for, and it's about building a relationship. So, you know, do speak to us if you aren't sure about anything. Drop us an email, give us a call. Aussie is around as well to answer any questions and get clarification if you're unsure about anything at all. Also, when it comes to answering the questions, try and avoid jargon and acronyms, or at least try to explain them. Don't assume that the assessor will know exactly what you're talking about, and try and be concise and specific in your responses, and try to use simple language as well. It's always better when trying to get your point across. And as Foz has mentioned previously, do tend to read the criteria and guidance thoroughly, please. Have a look on the website, see if there's any examples of creative projects that we might have funded in the past, might give you some ideas, you know, what are the type of activities that are likely to be funded. And yeah, again, read the criteria. I mean, you won't believe the number of times people apply for our funding and they apply for more than the maximum grant amount. So it says here it's up to 15,000, and, you know, guaranteed we'll probably get a few that apply for 20,000, and then that'll mean they're not eligible because they've asked for more than the maximum grant amount. The other thing is do market research as well. Who else is out there delivering in your area? What makes your particular project unique? You know, what's the particular value that it adds in addressing the issue or the project that you're trying to tackle through your activity? The budget section is always a very important part of any application. We'd like a clear budget, which is broken down as much as possible, in as much detail as possible. And also it needs to kind of match up with the activity that you're hoping to deliver as well. It just gives the funder that bit of confidence that you've really thought about the project and what you need in order to make it happen. When it comes to describing your activities, don't just tell us what you do. Have a think about and tell us, you know, what difference you doing that activity makes. Ask yourself the so what question. Be mindful of the outcomes and impact that you're wanting to achieve, and have an eye on, you know, value for money as well. If it's a multi-year project, I don't, obviously these are kind of 12 months, but, sometimes we have multi-year programs. We encourage people to ensure that they include things like inflation and cost of living increases in your budget as well. That will kind of help to future-proof your activity as much as possible. If you've got match funding as part of your total project costs, do tell us about this. A lot of people put match funding in, but they don't tell us anything about it. How much is the match funding? Who's, from where are you getting it? When do you expect to hear? Is it secured already, or is it a case of you just applied for it and you're about to hear? And what might happen if you don't secure the match funding? That's quite important as well. If you just give us as much information as possible, that really helps when we come to assessing. And if you haven't applied recently in the last year to GiveBradford and not submitted supporting documents already, then do make sure that you include those and attach them with your application. So that's things like, the last year's set of accounts, your constitution or governing document, any relevant policies. If you're working with young people or vulnerable adults, we'll expect to see a safeguarding policy, for example. And these are really important because we're unable to assess an application if this information is missing. So, that could make your application ineligible without it. And as already mentioned, please always submit your monitoring reports on time and be honest. We want to know what worked well, what didn't work so well, what you learned. If you run into problems while you're delivering and need to request an extension, or you want to change your budget or you move things around, that's fine. Do get in touch with us and let us know as early as possible. And again, like I said before, it's all about building that trust and relationship with the funder. And I think that's it. So we're over to Q&A. Are there any questions from anybody? Can't see any.
I think there's one there about the website with the online form. So that will be on the GiveBradford website. Once the fund goes live, then it will be on there. If you look at open grants, it would be listed under there. The other thing I did actually also want to mention is, if at any point, once you've decided what kind of or what form of art you want to do when you're looking for an artist, Bradford Producing Hub would be willing to help put a call out for those. And then to all of the artists in the district, and then they will contact you and support you in your project.
Yeah, I think there's been a question about being based in Bradford. You don't necessarily need to be based in Bradford, as the criteria says. It can be from a surrounding locality, so maybe Kirklees or Leeds or whatever. As long as you've got some kind of demonstrable link with the area, and we've got confidence that you'll be able to deliver, and the activity is happening in Bradford for the benefit of Bradford people, then it's not a reason to rule you out. But do check with us. You can always call and speak to somebody if you're not sure. There's a question about the deadline for us. Can you remind people when the deadline is?
23rd of August. Sorry, 23rd of April.
Okay. Question from Celia about payment time frame. That's usually within a couple of weeks of the panel happening. So obviously the deadline will take place when applications close. It's usually about 3 or 4 weeks where we do the assessments, and then the panel meets. I think it'd probably be June time from memory.
Yeah, July we said.
Yeah, June, July, when the payments
end of June, beginning of July.
Okay. Fawzia, there's a question for you. Could you give us an idea of the underserved communities you made reference to that you would like to see an application from?
It's communities that are in Bradford that wouldn't normally engage in something like arts and culture, areas of deprivation. So it's just, yeah, anything around that.
Just going through the chat.
I think, yeah, there's one from Sam. Share with community groups that you work with. Yes,
Yeah, that's
definitely. Yeah.
Shall I read out any of the other questions
Yeah.
I can see in the chat for you guys?
Yeah,
Save you
that would be
multitasking.
useful.
So someone here's asking, do you need to have an artist secured before applying? And I think also it's worth here maybe just embellishing on the fact that we are running this briefing event about a month before applications open, so people have time to sort of do thinking and planning. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily, but obviously, you know, like Jess has mentioned, you do have time before the application window opens, and the deadline is not until, you know, that end of March for you to, you know, sort of have those conversations and link up with anybody who would be able to help you in delivering the project.
Thanks, Shahed. Another question here. Does it matter if it is a new project, but the people have a track record, or does the organisation have to have a track record?
Sorry, I'm not. Does it matter? I think it's more the organisation. I think you're talking about eligibility based on the criteria. It's about the organisation having a track record, I think.
Thank you. Is there a specific email address for people to contact you to discuss applications?
grants@leedscf.org.uk.
Great, and we'll make sure that's included in the follow-up email as well. When would you like the project to start? Is it just that the project needs to be completed within 12 months of funds received?
Yeah, you get up to 12 months. Like I said, I think the payments won't be until June, July anyway, so it's going to be after that date.
Sorry, Shahed, I think because it's this one, isn't it? Don't they have to the end of 2025? It's usually 12 months, isn't it, for programs? But because it's for the year of culture, they'll have until the end of 2025, isn't that right?
Yeah, I think the aim was so it's roughly around 18 months, because this is going to be something new that some community organizations are going to do, and it's going to be new to the communities that they serve, that you'd be looking at, say, doing maybe test and learn phase with your project, that you're going to see what really works with your communities, what they really like. And then say by the end of 2024, you'll go with the project that works, that's got more engagement, that people really want to take part in, and then deliver that over the year 2025. So there is a test and learn element to this as well, because it's new. Yeah, nice.
Great. I think that also answers another question we've had about timelines, and I can see, Shahed, you're also popping some answers in the comments as well.
I think Celia's question is it a one-off opportunity, or will there be others similar to this? So this is the one-off with the 2025, but the aim is to have a legacy to this. So say a community organisation has worked with the communities and has made a massive impact in their area with having delivered something like this. We're looking to secure legacy funding for you to support you going forward to continue that work.
I think there's one here. Does your project have to be able to name a specific community they're working with, or can it be a collection of individuals from an area?
Should I answer that one? Just collection of individuals from that area.
Okay, I think we're all caught up with the chat there.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, in that case, thanks very much for everybody joining. You will get copies of the slides and the recording. And like I say, if there are any further questions, you can always contact us, and we're very happy to help you.
I think
Have a good day, everyone.